So imagine with me if a marriage could be like a tree with strong roots that are going down deep and being nurtured, and you felt like, oh yeah, life is good. We can handle any storms that come our way. Because a lot of times a relationship and a marriage, when the storms come and the roots aren't deep, then it just kind of can fall over, or it can split, and the branches break off and dreams are not fulfilled.
We're Clay and Sonia with Heart Life Coaching, and we believe that you can live out a love that lasts. Is our relationship always perfect? No, far from it, with it too. But the things you learn here will help you keep going in your relationship. And as we're going to talk about with the specifics of a tree and how that relates to a relationship, you're going to learn things that are really important about how to keep going and make it work the way you want it to.
Every strong and lasting marriage can be compared to a tree. And like a tree, it needs deep roots that goes down into the soil and nurtures it. And it needs a strong trunk, and it needs branches that reach out, and a harvest that's plentiful. But how can your relationship withstand the test of time and the storms that are inevitably going to come?
So let's start out talking about soil. If you're going to plant a tree, you have to have good soil. You can't do it in rocky or cracked soil with it too. You have to develop some good soil for it to be able to be nurtured, because the soil itself nurtures the relationship. It actually feeds your marriage in this sense. And so what do you do to prepare some of that soil?
Yeah, what are the things that actually feed your relationship? And some of that is commitment. I would say it's kind of like, okay, we are committed to making it work. We know that it's safe to show up as myself. And that is a big thing. And I think that we have beliefs that we can overcome anything together. And some shared values, shared faith. All of these things are things that nurture your relationship and that you can depend on.
And that's so important when when you're trying to grow, especially if you're new in your relationship, but also as your relationship ages and you've been together a long time, making sure that you still take care of the soil, just like you do for a tree with it too. So to have that soil done, you then need to move to the roots. And when we talk about roots, we're talking about daily actions that you can do to strengthen your relationship with it too. And that can be real simple sounding things, but our commitment to following through and doing these little things really makes the difference in whether roots will go deep. Now, let me tell you something about roots. If you don't have deep roots, when storms do come along, you're gonna have trouble with it too. I grew up along the Gulf of Mexico and witnessed many times trees that didn't have roots well, and a hurricane came through and winds blew 100 plus miles an hour, and how easily sometimes trees just fell over because they didn't have good soil that was nurturing the tree. Looked good from the outside, but underneath there weren't deep roots that were deep to help the tree hang on and be able to endure. So what are some of those roots we're talking about? Can be things just as simple as appreciations, can be caring behaviors, little things we do. This past week we were in Florida, and I didn't get to have my good shrimp like I do when I'm along the Gulf, because I'm a Gulf kid. And Sonia went to the store to get groceries after we got home and brought home some shrimp for me. And I so appreciate that felt like such a caring, nurturing thing for her to do, because she knew I was disappointed that I didn't get to have them. So it doesn't have to be big and complicated. It can be as much as you bringing them a cup of coffee in the morning or something like that. But doing them and carrying through with them makes a difference.
And so also having times that are fun and nurturing. Oftentimes we get so busy in life. We are so busy with our kids and with our work and things like that, and that we forget to have those moments where you can kind of connect with each other and be there for each other. And who are your support people? What are the supportive things? Are they videos that you watch like this? Are they people that you go to that together? You don't want to go off on your own and talk about your relationship. You want to be together, but you do sometimes need some supportive people that are trustworthy.
Sometimes those people make you laugh and have fun too,
Yes.
and kind of lighten it with it too. Because we're either so busy or we take our relationship so serious sometimes, and sometimes we just need to chill out and have fun, just like you did when you were dating. Think about all the fun you had and the places you went and the adventures you went on with it too. It's not too late to do that. And it's even more important as you go along. We're 45 plus years in our relationship now, and we have to do that and be intentional about that.
The next one is the trunk. The trunk comes up, and we kind of talked about this. The trunk needs to be flexible, and the way that it becomes flexible is through the roots and the nurture, the roots that come up. But we like to think of the trunk, the strong trunk, as relationship skills. Nobody teaches us. We don't learn this in school.
Boy,
we don't learn this at home. Most of the things
should be taught in school.
Modeled to us that was not a healthy way to do relationships. Do we know how to listen to each other? Do we know how to resolve conflict? But skills can be learned. We can learn how to listen more.
To learn how to connect so that we can communicate effectively with each other. And listening, as Sonny was saying, is a big part of that. But that leads to problem solving and teamwork and emotional support that we need to give to each other as well. And if we're not doing those things when we get to that space, then that gets pretty tough really fast. So you want to develop that good trunk where you've got those things going on so that you can strengthen each other and encourage each other and build each other up.
So the next one is the branches. The branches are your dreams and your future together.
So when we talk about the branches, we want to talk about where your relationship is headed. What's your vision? What's your plan? Where do you want to be next year or 5 years from now? What does that look like? When we work with couples, we often have them do cast a vision that they can put on their refrigerator of, okay, what kind of relationship do you want, and where's that going to go? How are you going to get there? But knowing that destination and having a shared destination together in your relationship is a big deal.
Because we all come into marriage with our own ideas.
Yeah.
Which
change over time.
Right? And so, but if we never really talk about them, sometimes we feel like, oh, we don't agree on anything. And usually you agree on more than what you think. And so having a process of really, how do you have a shared vision? That's kind of an important skill.
And it teaches you to dream together too.
Yeah.
Which is an important part of that. But you cannot go further and bear fruit if you don't have good branches, because that's where everything's going to come out of as far as moving forward in your relationship, just like with the tree in your front yard.
The next one is the leaves on the tree. You want to have like vibrant green leaves. You don't want to have like icky ones. And the leaves are like, that's the real life stuff. That's just like, sometimes it's the stuff we don't want to do. It's like going to work, taking care of the kids, taking care of the house. It's the things that you do. But if you can do them as a joint effort between each other. We used to think we need to divide everything equally. But then it's kind of like, a balance is really important. A balance of being there, supporting each other, listening to each other, whatever you choose to do. But it's the leaves, create the shade.
We have blossoms that will come out of the leaves and begin to develop fruit, which is kind of cool. If you've ever been up into apple country and seen that process go on, it's really neat to see the flowers, but how they start developing into fruit as we go. And that's what we want to do in our relationship too. We want to have experiences of love and see fruit come from the efforts and those little things that we're doing to make our relationship be what we want it to be.
Yeah. And I think peace has been one of the big harvests that we have had. And that comes from all these other things that we talked about. It's the roots being deep and developing new skills and having a shared vision and recognizing that we're different is amazing to give us a sense of a peace.
And see that difference as an ally and not an enemy.
Yeah.
is a huge thing, because that's the number one reason why couples fight, is their objection to being different from their partner. Well, we're all different. So if you don't accept them and be able to embrace that, that happens. And that leads to another piece of fruit that we experience, which is acceptance. That I'm okay being me, but you're okay being you. And we may have the space between us, which is the relationship with it too, but I don't have to see you as adversarial because you're not like me.
Yeah. And that creates peace.
It creates peace, but it also too, it helps me stay on track in life, because I need your differences. If I try to do it all the way I am and the way I'm wired with it too, I miss important things. And sometimes I've made huge mistakes because I haven't asked for an opinion, or when I have asked for opinion, I didn't listen to it, etc. And so that mutual acceptance there, it creates making life work even better and bearing fruit with that in our relationship, but also in our life just in general. As part of that too.
And I got ahead of myself a little bit ago, because before, after you have the fruit and you have the harvest, then in the fall the leaves fall, and the fruit falls if it has not harvested. But the good thing is that creates the good compost, which goes into your soil. So even the struggles, sometimes you do have to look at, okay, what are we going to let go of? What are we going to embrace, and what are we going to let go of? And then letting go of things, forgiveness and things like that, can actually nurture the soil. And then it creates more nutrients for you to bring up in your life and in your relationship.
And the whole goal of this is strengthening. Why? Because eventually a storm's going to come. It's not. I love, one of the coolest things, even though it was scary at the same time, was sitting through a hurricane and watching a palm tree be so strong and trunk and so deeply rooted in the good soil, but when the storm blows, let it bend over, almost touching the ground sometimes, and then when the wind would die down, it'd go right back up to where it was with it too. And that's a beautiful picture of what we want you to have, the kind of relationship we've gotten to experience, and we are experiencing, but we want you to experience that too, because those storms are going to come. You want to talk more about the storm?
Yeah, oftentimes we think that a good relationship is one where you're going to never have any problems. And then when the storms of life come, and that's where our focus goes. It's like, oh yeah, I hate this. This is horrible. Let's just look at the storm and try to figure it out, instead of going back to making sure that you have good roots, making sure that your soil is nurturing, making sure that you are together on the site and you have the skills for navigating what is going to happen. And because a healthy relationship is one where you know how to repair when there are issues. You know how to come together. I think that was one of the big things for us was when we were doing hospice with Clay's mom in the end of her life, and realized that we really didn't know how to come together. We were kind of both trying to do these things on our own. It's like, okay, how do we come together? How do we do these things in a way that is nurturing to us? And learning that was so key and so important, which brought us closer together and improved our future life.
Now, in coming videos, we're going to go into each of these areas specifically, and we're going to get real detailed to hand you some skills and some ideas to help you in each of these areas, so you can make sure your relationship is getting nurtured. So we want to encourage you to click the like button, subscribe, and be watching for those, because those are coming shortly behind.
And we've recreated a guide. So in the caption is a link so that you can get a guide which has some questions, so that you can decide for yourself what you want these things to be. What do you already have in place, and what could you add to strengthen this tree of your relationship?